As I always say, begin at the beginning. Where were you born?
Born?
Yeah.
The date or?
Well, no, not necessarily the date, but where?
Born in Schneidemühle. S-C-H-N-I-E-I-D-E-M-U-L.
That's very useful for the person that's going to type this out. Yes.
Or is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yes. Well, tell me about your family. Yes. Tell me about your family and what sort of home you had and.
Well, what do you call a middle class home. My father had a furrier business.
Furrier?
Furrier, yes. And my mother was looking after the family now, which existed all from their youth on the 5 children.
Where did you come in the 5 children?
I was the baby.
Yes, yes.
The eldest one was a sister, and the next one was a brother, and there was another brother. I forgot already. You have 5 children anyway.
Did your mother have help in the house?
Yes.
What sort of help? I mean, was it a big house?
Domestic.
A big house?
No.
No.
We had, in fact, in a small town, which is Schneidermühle, we had our own house, and the shop was in front.
Oh, your father's business?
Yes.
Oh, I see.
And we lived at the back of the shop.
Back of the shop. And you went to school nearby?
Yes. Well, it's a small town, I walked to school.
Yes.
10 minutes, 15 minutes walk.
And was it a school that you could stay throughout your education, or just for small children?
No, throughout my youth education.
Yes. I
was about 14, 15 when I left school. It was a state school.
Yes.
It was a common thing, unless you went into what we would call upper class.
Yes. Do you know much about your grandparents?
Yes.
Tell me a bit about them.
But only for my grandparents from my mother's side.
Yes.
It was a very religious family. In fact, my grandfather was the acting cousin in this town. It's also a small town, about 15,000 inhabitants.
Yeah.
And, they go to ripe old age.
So as a child, did you go to the synagogue where he?
Yes. No, in the town where I lived. My grandparents lived in another town.
Yes, but did you go to visit that town when you were?
Oh, yes.
Yes. So
quite frequently in the school holidays.
Yes. So did you have quite a religious upbringing?
Yes, very much so.
Yes. Because I remember Gigi said, of course, that your mother was Orthodox. That's right. And so your parents kept a kosher home, did they?
Yes. My mother, anyway. And she had to follow it. My late father, he was not a great believer in it.
No.
He liked to eat what he likes, and go when he likes.
Yes.
But in the home, a harmonious family, anyway.
Yes. So, what happened when you left school?
I wanted to go become a tradesman, because my late father was also a tradesman, a furrier.
Yes.
And in reality, I started working in an apprenticeship which lasted only a few months as a building engineer.
Yes.
But I was very, like our Michael, very petite.
Yes, small, yes.
And it broke my mother's heart when I used to come home with oil all over, and I was crawling up the steps in the buildings. And so I gave it up. Instead of, I became a hairdresser.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a change from a building.
Yeah, but my mother wanted to have an easier profession. My parents anyway.
And you did it without sort of any protest?
No, not at all. I knew I had to get a profession, do something.
You didn't want to go into your father's business? Or
No, I had a brother who was already in the business.
Yes.
Unfortunately, he died very young.
Yes. So you went into the hairdressing business.
Yeah.
You were trained properly?
Fully trained, had a full apprenticeship of 4 years.
And then what?
And then I started to work as a, what do you call it,
barber.
No, a hairdresser and barber, of course.
For
Gents and ladies.
Gents and ladies.
The ladies weren't so much at the time.
No. But was it your own business or
No,
you were
I worked
employed?
for something. Well, so.
Yes, so you were working here then at the hairdresser, and
Yes.
still in the town where you were born.
Now I was yes, in the town where I was born, Stein. And then in 1927, my parents decided to move into a bigger town, Berlin, capital of Germany.
Yes, yes.
And there I continued my apprenticeship. You know,
Yes,
it
yes.
should be very prim and proper. Everything goes through union in Germany.
I
Germans are very, very precise.
Yes.
And then I finished a 4 years apprenticeship.
Did the rest of your brothers and sisters move with you, or I suppose some were married, were they by then?
No, my sister was married, and my eldest brother, he died in 1927.
Yes,
That's
yes.
when he left.
Yes.
In order to settle in Berlin.
Did you like living in a big city?
Yes.
What sort of social life did you have?
You know, you start off the youth movement in a school, and I was quite active. I joined the German athlete club, and I was quite active there.
Yes. Did you come across any anti-Semitism when you at that time?
Faintly at the time.
Not enough to worry you?
No.
No.
It got really bad only about 1930, 31, you know, and really.
Yes, can you tell us about that, because that's...
Well, look here, having gone away from a small town, I was unknown. I wasn't typically looking Jew, you know, and I mean everything. It's all, but I always had Jewish friends. At least male friends.
Yes, yes.
Females we went to fussy.
Yes, and well, I mean, so that takes us through really perhaps to about 1930.
Yes.
And then?
1930 I worked, and then my second brother.
Yes.
Who was actually wanting to study, but Hitler was already coming into being.
Yes.
And he decided to become an agent.
An agent?
An agent, yes, for a clothing factory.
Yes, yes.
Actually materials, yeah.
Was that because, was he not allowed to get into a college, or things were getting...
No, he had actually done his A-level.
Yes.
And at one time he thought of becoming a vet.
Yes,
yes. But then it was already become politically not very pleasant.
Yes, yes.
And more so, he had then, my late father wasn't well. He died in 1936. And we all had to contribute to the upkeep of the family.
Of course, of course.
Because my father lost the business.
Yes, yes.
On account of anti-Semitism too.
Yes, yes, yes.
And to start in a big town, you're lost, you know. So we virtually retired him. Yes.
What happened in 1933?
1933 I left for Dresden.
Just you, on your own?
All on my own. My brother lived there. He was engaged to be married.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And he wanted us to be together.
Yes.
Of course, I was the only one still in the family from my parents, you know.
Oh, yes, of course, your father was...
My father was
there.
Yes. And when he got married, I actually moved in with him.
Yes, yes.
You know? Had quite a lovely home.
So you must have had a nice sister-in-law, yes?
Yes, a lovely girl. Unfortunately, she never survived.
No.
And,
so you went to her in 1933?
Yes, I went to Dresden in 1933.
Was that a lovely city?
Very nice, very nice. Lovely city. Very artistically and musically, you know, and famous people like Richard Tauber.
Yes, yes, yes.
You know.
Oh, lovely. Very different from Berlin, was it?
Yes.
Yes. More sophisticated?
Very much so, you know. And there I made friends, And then Hitler came into being, and we all aimed to get out. Although at 33 it was not so bad, but then it get gradually very fast.
Yes.
And I had a friend who had an uncle here in South Africa.
Yes.
And who asked him to come over.
The uncle asked your friend to go.
Yes.
Yes.
To come over, and we were actually three friends. We rented a house with a housekeeper, and she looked after us.
Was it difficult though to get out of
Germany?
Yeah.
Not yet. But 36 was the critical time.
Now let me just recap. Where you say you were three friends with a housekeeper, was that in Germany?
In Germany, in the same town.
You left your brother's home and you set up with these other two friends.
Yes. And this friend who subsequently went to South Africa, and when he arrived there shortly, he said he would get us a guarantee that we could get into South Africa.
Yes.
Of course you do that, but had to have a certain amount of capital.
Yes.
Or somebody well-to-do could stand guarantee for you.
Yes. Yes.
And that's what he did.
Yes.
And there were two of us. We followed him to South Africa.
Yes.
And I had then qualified as a master's degree of hairdressing.
Yes.
And when I came to Cape Town, from there, I had immediately a job. Virtually overnight. I arrived on a Saturday. On a Monday morning, I was already working.
That's amazing.
Yes.
But I mean, when people from Germany went to other countries, did they also have to have this capital or a guarantee?
Yes.
Not when they came to Britain, did they? I don't think so.
No.
I don't really know.
No, I tell you why. Britain had a quota, I think. They only would take so many, or the states as well.
Yes.
And South Africa was still underdeveloped.
Yes. Because we had so many young girls coming over here as domestics.
Yes, domestic. And
but what happened about your mother at this stage?
My mother was eventually left alone, but my elder sister emigrated to Holland. And when I left, which delayed actually my departure, I was supposed to go in about March, April, this same year, 1936. My late father died, and my mother was left alone, and I had to wait until I could get her settled.
But she came with you, didn't she?
No, she lived there.
She stayed on in, yes.
In the meantime, when I came to South Africa, I knew the chance of getting her into South Africa would become more and more difficult. And I applied for a visa for her to come on holiday because she didn't want to come. She wanted to stay with her oldest daughter.
Of course.
And the grandchildren,
And what age was she at that time, I mean?
Pardon?
What age was she at that stage?
Oh, she was about 70, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's very hard to make a new move at that.
But they were in Amsterdam.
Yes.
Yes, she was with the daughter that went to Holland.
My sister in Amsterdam.
Yes.
She got settled there.
Yes.
And then eventually, and I was settled more or less in South Africa.
Yeah.
I asked if she got permit to come stay with me.
In a way, it was as though you could foresee the future.
Well, that's what I aimed for it. I knew she wouldn't get out unless she goes out quickly.
Yes.
And then war broke out.
And your sister didn't want to come. I suppose your sister had family, did she?
They had family. They had a son and a daughter. And they had a raincoat factory. And the whole family was working homework,
yes. I suppose in a way it was easier for unattached people to leave.
Oh yes.
And whole families, that's right.
I took a suitcase and a bit of money I had couldn't take much in anything.
Yes.
Could take about maximum about 50 marks.
Yes. So you must have been pleased when your mother
did
get
came out. And she stayed with us. And in the meantime, I then got married in South Africa.
Well, wait a minute. Were you married before your mother came?
No.
So first you was with your friend?
We again had to set up in Cape Town the way we were in dress.
Not the three of you?
Well, three of us, yeah.
Yes, I
Actually
see.
two. The one who stayed, you have the second friend of mine, he brought his parents out too, and they started a boarding house.
Yes,
You know.
yes.
It was all the immigrants used to go there for home food and staying in there, and it was cheap.
Yeah.
You know.
But your mother didn't go there,
No,
did you?
my mother I put into residence with an Orthodox family.
Yes.
Because she was used to it.
Yes.
And there she stayed till I got married. This was from 1933 years, huh? Yes.
She must have found it very strange.
No, that
must have been hard for her, yes.
It's hard, difficult to replant
That's right.
afresh.
That's right, that's right, that's right. And did you carry on with your hairdressing?
Yes. I had a job right away when I came to Dresden in a hotel.
Cape Town,
In
yes.
Cape Town, yes.
In a hotel?
In a hotel. It was a hotel with all the convenience, and downstairs was a hairdressing studio,
Yes, yes.
of which I became the manager.
Yes, yes.
And I was earning for under the condition very good money.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Because tradesmen always they were rare.
Yes,
Because
yes.
South Africa was still underdeveloped.
Yes, yes.
And there I worked for 10 years.
And then you met Gigi in this time, did you?
Yeah.
Where did you meet?
We met, I tell you, it's a long story.
That's all right.
Those friends which I had, we lived together again. And there was another friend who had a home. I mean, a flat, a house. And we moved in there. And Gigi was working as a milliner. Huh? Yes. And this friend who had the house where I lived with him, she was working with Gigi in a factory, you know, a millinery factory.
Yes.
And by chance she mentioned to Gigi, you know, I've got three nice Yiddish boys living with me.
Really? My goodness.
And I dated Gigi, but he was young, 19 years, not even, 19 years.
Yes,
And so I took her out once or twice, and then, you know, we, like a bird, you fly around.
Yes.
And I forgot about it. And then this friend of mine where I lived, she said, you know, you have never contacted Gigi. Yeah. So I did contact her, and from there our affair started. This was 19...
It was sealed, yes.
1939. Gigi arrived in 1939.
Yes.
And from there we got steady, as you say.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, I mean, I don't want to sort of detract from what Gigi said, so we can still go through the same sort of periods.
Right.
And of course the war started.
Yes. Well, my mother stayed on.
Yes.
Couldn't go back in any case.
No.
And Gigi came out. We have it there. Right?
Yes, that's what I was thinking, yes.
And in 1941, we got married.
But you didn't sort of join any service or anything, did you?
In the school?
No,
no.
That's what I was saying, military service.
By the war. South Africa was affected too. We lived like a paradise.
And it must have been very hard for you, because obviously you must have been trying to make contact with your sister.
Yes, well,
and other members of...
We had to give up, because you know, we lost complete contact. When the war started...
Red Cross. We went to the Red Cross. We knew that she was embarrassed.
Oh, yes. We knew that they had been taken away, you know, by the Germans. They occupied Overland, Holland, and they were taken away.
Yes.
With the exception of her daughter, my sister's daughter, who was engaged to be married.
Was married already.
She was married, yes. And they went underground with her son.
Yes, yes.
But my niece, she escaped, jumped out the kitchen window while they came in front to get them out. You know,
amazing, yes, yes.
Take them in custody. So
yes.
And that was the end of the family. With the exception of my niece, who lived in Holland, right through the war, underground. But when she came back, the Hollanders were very sympathetic to Jews who fled from Hitlerism. and they done very well.
How did you make contact with your niece again?
In Holland.
Yes, but how did you make contact? I mean, how did you establish where she was, or how did she know where you were?
Yes, we were. She wrote to us after the war.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
when they came.
Yes, when things
into
were
being
beginning to
again.
return to normal.
And there and then I already could help them. You
In
know,
what
I
way?
sent them clothing
Yeah.
and money. I don't think. Pardon? Food service,
Food,
parcel,
yes,
food parcel.
yes,
You know?
yes, yes.
And at the same time, I had a brother who also had to get out of Germany.
Yeah.
And this was 1939.
Where did
When
he go?
Albert was already in South Africa, he went to Bogota.
Oh yes,
You know.
I know that well. Yeah.
Yes. And I had to help him too.
Yes.
You know, I was the only breadwinner in the family.
Did you make contact with that brother at all?
Yes, very much so. You know. That's how I could help him.
But I mean, did you actually see him again?
Yes.
Where?
But in Switzerland.
1966.
1966.
So that must have been a real reunion.
Oh yes.
That must have been a very moving occasion for you all, mustn't
He
it?
had lost his wife.
Yes.
And he had a son.
Yes.
Which is still in existence.
Yes,
Very much.
yes.
He lives in New York.
Yes. Yeah.
In Philadelphia, actually.
Our families were split up then.
Oh, completely.
Really
yeah.
terrible, isn't it?
And well, then I
Married.
was.
You were married, Alex. You were married, Alex.
Who?
Alex remarried.
Yes, oh yes, my
Yes, your brother
He
remarried.
lost his wife.
Yes.
For cancer.
Yes. Yes.
And after he was widowed for
Yes.
a year or 18 months, I think he married actually a friend of his wife, his wife.
Well, that's.
And she's still alive in
Yes.
New
Good.
York.
Good. Good.
She lives now with the son from the first marriage.
Yes. Yeah. So I suppose some of these things must seem a very long time
Oh yes.
ago, don't they? Now you've really sort of settled and become very
Oh, that's a long time
used
now.
to living here. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
I mean, when you're young, you can take things better.
Yes,
You know?
true,
Only
true.
our concern is that you can go out to 5 o'clock tea. And
That's right.
You know,
That's right. That's
a
right.
date.
That's right. Did you find our synagogue in Northwood here very different from what you were used to in South Africa?
Not so much. Also belong to a Reform synagogue. Yes, for many years.
Yes.
We were virtually founder members. Huh?
Yes.
And
yeah.
so this was no
Not
strange.
such a change for you. No.
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 But your mother belonged to the
Oh yes, my late
Yes,
mother,
but your mother was-
she was Orthodox.
Yeah.
And she didn't have a membership for her.
No.
First it was very expensive.
Yes, of course.
Because the Orthodox, they take it good and
Yes,
well.
of course,
you know.
of course.
And we never became a member of the shul right away. We were as guests.
Yeah.
And my mother also
Yeah.
at the Orthodox.
Yeah. Did your mother have language problems?
Yes. Yes.
I mean, it was easier for you to learn to.
Oh yes, quite.
Yes. But your friends were mostly German people, weren't they?
Yeah.
German
No, but
speaking
in
people.
South Africa we linked up to South African
Yeah.
youth, you know,
Yes.
young people.
And of course, once your children came along, then it was very
Right.
different, wasn't it? Once they went to school.
Oh, yes, sure.
Yes. Yes. Is there anything else that you feel, that you'd like to tell?
I wouldn't know what to do
Yeah.
when we emigrated to England.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
so during the war, actually, you always looked after Jewish soldiers.
Oh,
The
yes.
convoys coming
Yeah,
in.
the
you know?
convoys.
Oh, did you?
Yes,
Well-
Convoys here, English, from all over the world, French.
Yes.
We had sometimes a convoy of 50, 60 ships coming in.
Where were they passing through? Were they on their way?
To the Suez Canal.
Ah, I see.
You know.
I see.
And
You always looked
we
Jewish
always
boys.
got to know that there is an Israeli board in.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, we always took them out and
Offered them
of
hospitality.
hospitality. They stayed with us, and I had a car then already, you know.
So that was in a way your sort of war effort, was
Pardon?
it? A sort of like a war effort. I mean,
Yeah,
other
sure,
families
quite,
did that as
quite.
well.
And we used to send parcels to their families.
Yes.
And the
Yes.
soldiers, they were looked after by the army.
Yes.
But
Yes.
they all were concerned about their families.
Mm, mm.
Not married, young soldiers, but
Yes.
they had the parents and sisters and
Mm.
brothers.
Mm.
And we used to send them parcels as well.
Yes, yes.
Because the convoy only passed through for a week or so,
Yes.
and it would be off.
And then you'd never see them.
Yeah. We have 1 or 2 week correspondence still, but then you lose contact.
Of course, of course. So that made you feel some involvement.
Yes, oh yes. I mean,
Really?
yeah, always open house.
Yes, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I can believe that. Yes, yes.
And Bobby was on the way.
Yes,
you know.
yes.
And my late mother had passed away.
Yeah.
No, beg your pardon. She only passed away about 2 years after Barbara. Angie was born.
Barbara was. Oh, Andrew was born.
No, Barbara.
We're getting in a muddle. Yes. Well.
No.
1947, Barbara was born.
Barbara was born.
Yes.
Right. And then she. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll go back and say when you changed your job.
Well, when Barbara was born.
46, all right, the year before. So she was.
Yeah.
On
And
the way.
now you went to Johannesburg. With Barbara.
Don't matter, don't worry, we've got plenty of room on the tape, yeah.
Well, I decided to change my profession.
Did you?
Yes.
Oh, what are you going to do this time? From the furrier to the hairdresser?
Hairdresser, and then I became
builder,
a commercial
builder.
traveler.
Right, commercial
To
traveler,
a
yeah.
very comparatively large firm of German Jews
Yeah,
who also emigrated with nothing,
yeah,
and they became absolutely tops.
yeah.
They were the leading firm, still today,
Nice.
the leading firm in South Africa.
Yeah.
They were
Not afraid of hard work, were they?
No, definitely not. And I had started as a traveler and I finished up as an administrative manager and at a junior directorship.
What were you selling?
Everything possible. Particularly after the war, you couldn't get things.
No, no.
But there were 3 owners.
Yes.
2 brothers and a brother-in-law. And they were absolutely dynamic.
Yes. Were they good people to work for? I mean, they treat you fairly?
Very. And I joined them at their early beginning, 1946.
Did you have to go away from home much?
Not so much, because the country was quite big. And then I took over the administrating job as well, because I was in a branch in Cape Town, and head office was in Johannesburg.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So somebody had to look after the branch.
Yes.
You know.
What made you make that decision to give up your home?
I felt I had reached the top
Yes.
in hairdressing. You
Yes,
know.
you couldn't
can only
really go any
so much, no more. Particularly when you are employed.
Yes,
With
yes.
your own business, you could possibly would do better.
Yes,
But in
yes.
those days, hairdressing wasn't so much in demand.
No,
as
no,
yet,
no.
You know.
No.
And then I joined this company, as I told you,
Yes.
and I was running them until I left South Africa.
So you didn't really
But-
you didn't get up to retirement age, did you? Really?
Yes, I
Oh, you
did,
did,
I
it was
did.
just, yes, yes.
I retired officially not. I had a heart attack in 1974.
Yes,
And but I had made a good recovery.
Yes.
But they were so close as the owners of the company
Yes.
that they said you go into semi-retirement and you do what you like and you go in an hour or 2 a day, you know,
Yes.
you're satisfied. I had established the branch
Yes,
very well.
yes, yes.
And I had the company had about 280 people on the
Oh,
end.
that's company, yes.
This in
yes,
South Africa
yes.
was a big firm.
So really the timing was quite good, wasn't it?
Oh,
In
yeah.
as much as all these events happened and then you decided to come over here. The
Well,
timing of it.
We could make no other decision but
No.
get out of Germany. You know.
No, out of South Africa.
Oh, South
that's
Africa.
At that stage,
Because
yes.
the children wanted to go.
Yes.
And we never hampered.
No,
we,
no,
We
no.
knew we'd been through the mill,
Yes, that's right.
immigration, and they
Yes.
thought why they still haven't got the burden
Yes.
of the only thing. Barbara was the only one who who had a family.
Yes, yes, yes.
And they went out before us.
Yes.
In
Yes.
April or May. And my late son, he also came here.
Yeah.
And they all wanted us to come.
Yes.
And
I'm sure you have no regrets. I'm sure you did the right thing.
Not at all. And we had no ties in South Africa.
No.
But we had very good friends, but they became less and less and
Yes,
less.
that's right. It's your,
No,
it's your
because
children and grandchildren that really count.
That's it. So we felt it's the only
Yes.
asset we had.
Yes, yes.
Is our family, our children and
Yes,
grandchildren.
yes. And then you, it was rather nice because when they joined us in Northwood, you also felt you wanted to come along as well.
We were immediately when we in the church there in the corner.
That's right, Halliwell Road. Yes, yes, you came there.
And we joined there.
Well,
But,
you didn't know your daughter was going to end up as chairman of the congregation, did you?
No, definitely not.
That was something to give you great pride.
Yes.
Okay, Gigi, we're on. So we'll start at the very beginning.
All right.
And you tell me where you were born.
I was born in Poznan,
Yeah.
Poland.
In Poland?
Yes, Poland. Now it was Germany still, and then it became Poland,
I see.
1920.
Yeah, yeah. And did you come from a large family?
Now, I've got one sister, and that's all. And
Well, what about your parents? What did
my
occupation?
parents, my father was a businessman. He had an export business. My parents were divorced when I was 3 and my sister was 6. My mother remarried.
That must have been quite sort of rare, was it, to
Yes,
divorce in
in
those?
Jewish families.
Yes, yes.
And we lived with my father. I had a governess and she looked after us. And we were leading a very normal life.
Did you keep in touch with your mother?
Now, I started, when did, 1963. I saw my mother first time. Now, I saw her up to 1933, and then she emigrated to Paris with her husband.
Yes.
Up to then, I've seen her once or twice a month.
Is she alive still?
Now, she died 10 years ago.
Yes,
approximately.
yes,
12
yes,
years ago.
yes, yes. So she really didn't play very much part
No,
in it?
none whatsoever.
No,
I mean, she was not like a mother to me. Then I see now I was married at the time, had 2 children.
Yeah.
She was like a lost aunt.
Yes, yes. And what about your stepmother?
My father didn't remarry.
Oh,
She
he
was
didn't.
just a
Oh, it was the
governess.
mother that I
Yes.
see.
She just looked after us.
So
My
did you-
father was quite a lot, was traveling a lot, you know.
What was his business?
He had an export business from Poland to Switzerland and France, Belgium. Grain, actually.
Grain.
Grain.
So what sort of house did you live in?
In Berlin, we had a very big flat house at that time. Only the very, very rich actually had a house, right? We had a very apartment, 8 rooms. We had a governess. We had a cook. My father was well-to-do.
Yes, yes, yes. You went to school where he paid fees?
No, you only did state school. 80% state school. And in 1926, 27, we moved into a smaller apartment, and I went to school there until the what is it, lower class?
Yes, like a secondary school.
Yes,
yes.
secondary school.
And your sister with you?
Yes, all the time. And then I went to high school in 1933, at the age of 13. They threw me out.
And tell me a bit.
Actually, I can't remember very well. From one day to another, I couldn't go to school anymore.
No. Were you old enough to understand really what was happening?
Yes,
Yes.
definitely.
And your sister was older or younger?
My sister was 3 years older. In 1936, she went, 35 it was, she went to Yugoslavia and to South Africa, and she married very young
So she went off on her own?
with her husband.
No. When she left Germany?
She left Germany to, now first she went to Chamonix and she went to some Jewish, this is all very complicated.
Yes.
And she married when she was 18 and went to Yugoslavia and then to South Africa. My brother-in-law had family in South Africa.
So when she left, you were with the governess and your father still.
Right.
So what happened to your father?
My father, we emigrated to South Africa in 1939.
39?
Yes. The matter of fact...
No difficulty?
Now, 1934, he really didn't know what to do with me because I was young and he sent me for a year to France. I was in a finishing school. And came back then end of 35, lived in Berlin still, and then he went to Danzig, to Gdansk. My father was afraid they would take his passport away, seeing that he was traveling a lot.
So is that going back to Poland, is it?
No, but it actually was a free city, Danzig. Was a free city.
What does that mean?
Free city is it's like a free state. Nobody was governing there, supposed to. But in reality, the Nazis were even worse there than in Germany.
Well, can I recap a little?
Yeah, sure.
You were born in Poland.
Yes.
And then your father moved?
1920, I was a couple of months old, to Berlin.
I see.
Quite.
Yes. So, now what I haven't asked you, which I would like to ask you, is about, did you have any religion in your home?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Actually, not very much. My father came from a very religious family. And he was not keen keeping up a lot of traditions in the house, you know, the usual story. And seeing that the governess was non-Jewish, he hadn't seen too much. But I mean, we went to shul on Friday nights occasionally with my father when he was at home, not traveling, and the on tables like Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, we kept as a hostel, you know, the Pesach, he always were with family or friends.
So you had some family around?
No, actually only friends. My father
yeah.
also came from his background, he only had a brother and he died very young.
Yes. So really your father was and your sister were your close family in those days.
I had a cousin who emigrated 1933 to Israel, and from Israel back to Germany 1960, and he died 65 in Berlin. He was a very sick man.
So really it must have been a time when a lot of people were trying to get out of Germany, and so it must have been a very unsettling time for an adolescent.
Very much so, because when we immigrated the first time to Danzig, I was a member of the Bar Kochba, and we had a very nice young Jewish crowd, but we couldn't go anywhere. It was just a Jewish circus that we circulated.
In your homes?
In our homes and in clubs, Jewish clubs, you know. But as such, the life was very unsettled and dangerous.
Yes,
I mean, we never could come home late. As soon as we came home a bit late, you know, parents were afraid something happened to us. So life was very sad and confined to a very small space.
Yes. And did your father make, I mean, he had to sort of close his business, I presume, to decide to, it was a necessity that he left in 1939.
Yeah, we immigrated to South Africa, but we had to apply for a permit. Every time we had to get a permit. And seeing that I was under 21 and my father over 60, we applied for the permit, and we got the permit 1938. But the permit was issued that we had to use it together because he wanted to send me first, because he thought it would change.
Yes.
And so we immigrated April 1939 to South Africa.
Did he have to start up in business again?
No, he couldn't. When we left, I mean, it was very traumatic for him. He was a sick man.
Was he allowed to take money?
No, he left with 5 German marks.
That's all you were allowed?
Yeah.
And possessions?
We took a few things along, but not much. We left our furniture behind, just our personal belongings and, crockery and small things.
Did most of your friends, were
I
they
had very
going
few
as well?
friends actually in Danzig. The friends from my late father's Germany, they immigrated to Holland and they all perished.
Yes.
But in Danzig I had a few young friends, but they also stayed to the last. They went to Mauritius then, they had to go to Mauritius and the others all...
And your father chose South Africa because did you say you had some relatives?
No, my sister was there.
That was the reason, yes.
And we immigrated 1939 and 1943 we died. He was very unhappy and, as I said, you can't all true.
No. So tell me what happened when you got to South Africa.
When I got to South Africa, I had a job as a milliner.
Where did you live?
We lived with my sister and brother-in-law first. Not very pleasant circumstances. It was very difficult. And I worked. Whatever I earned, I gave to my sister. And 1939, after I immigrated, I met Walter there.
In
South Africa, yes.
Yes.
I was unattached.
Yes.
And 1941 we got married.
Yes, well, I will, when asked, to talk to Walter, it's very interesting to know how he came there as well, but we'll leave that in a moment. So, and you were still working at the mill?
Yes, I was working in a factory, and I earned £5.10 a month. I mean, it was a lot of money at this time.
Yes. And what sort of home did your sister have?
Very poor.
Yes.
I mean, she didn't have much money.
No, and her husband, what was he?
He was a radio mechanic, He earned quite well, but they had a little daughter at that stage in 1939.
Yes.
And we lived there definitely not the way we were used to.
No.
It was quite tough immigration the first 3 years.
And when the war came and you heard all that was going on in Europe, what were your feelings?
I mean, there's Walter, but he had a sister in Holland.
Yes.
Who perished.
Yes.
And between 1939 and 1941, I mean, not much actually happened. I mean, it was tough for me, very much so. Because I had to look in a funny sort of way after my late father too. He was, as I said before, very unhappy.
You were more responsible in a way than your sister because you've been with him.
Right.
Yes.
And 41 we got married, and Walter's mother lived with us, came also out of South Africa.
Was your father alive when you got married?
Yes.
So you left him with your
my sister.
And you went off to live with Walter's mother?
No, with Walter's mother.
Came.
Yes, we lived in a small flat.
You got a flat, yes.
We got a small flat.
What town were you in?
Cape Town.
Yes.
And we had a very strict kosher household. Walter's mother was very religious. And
I bet you didn't think you'd be joining a liberal synagogue in those days.
Actually, as a matter of fact, to come back to it, we were members of a liberal synagogue in Berlin.
Oh, you were?
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. Yes, we can recap a bit. Tell me a little bit about that.
synagogue. I mean, as a matter of fact, I gave Andrew a book about the synagogues in Berlin.
Yes.
And as I said before, we weren't very religious.
No. I mean, how did it compare with our synagogue as you know it today? Was it not all Hebrew? It
was more or less the same, I think.
Yes,
more Hebrew, I think.
Yes.
It was actually more Hebrew than German.
Yes. Did you observe dietary laws?
Yes.
You did, yes. So did you join a liberal congregation in South Africa?
Yes, but we only joined the liberal shul when Barbara was born, a couple of years later, when we could afford it, let's put it this way.
So did you continue with your working?
Yes, I continued with my working, and then after our marriage, a friend of ours got me a better job in a departmental store. And seeing that I was in France for a year, my French was very good, and I was then like an interpreter during the war. Quite a number of Belgian Congo people came from Cape Town. And then we joined the shul, and my mother-in-law belonged to a Orthodox shul. And we kept a very frum household.
Yes, yes. And you began to make friends?
Yes, we had quite a circle of friends, good friends. But unfortunately, they were all Germans. We never actually German Jews, you know.
Well, I suppose that was fairly natural, wasn't it?
Yes, but we never actually mixed very much with South African Jews. They didn't. They weren't very keen, actually, right? Just switch it off, please. Actually.
Yes, so you're saying South African Jews found it difficult to accept.
Yes,
accept
they called us the Yakkers when we all arrived in South Africa.
Yes, so that was a sort of another burden to bear in a way.
Yes, but still, I mean, after a couple of years, I mean, we met a few people, actually quite nice people, but we mixed more with our contemporaries, German Jews.
So when you say you were doing some interpretation, that was, you mean in the department stores? Yes. And did you manage to sort of do any voluntary work or anything outside your home?
Not at the...
Not really working?
No, not later on in life, later on.
Yes.
Then I stopped working. I stopped working when Barbara was born, actually before. I stopped 1945. I only worked until 1945.
Then you started your family,
yes,
right?
Yes. And Barbara was born 1947.
Yes.
And what else?
Okay.
Yeah, you better...
So once you had your family, obviously your life began to change, and you gave up.
Yes, I mean, we belonged to the Reform Synagogue, and then I was quite active in the sisterhood.
Yes.
And I was in the committee.
What sort of things did you do?
What did I do?
I mean, was it probably like today where you had jumble sales and things like that to raise money?
Yes, jumble sales and bazaars. As a matter of fact, I remember at one time we arranged a bazaar, a friend of mine, and it was quite successful at the time.
Did you have any help in the house? In your flat?
Yes.
What sort of help did you have?
We had African.
Oh, I see.
Yes, we had help. First half days.
Now when you say African, you don't mean coloured, or you do?
No, coloured, black.
Yes. And did this a lady? Or a boy?
No, a lady. A lady.
And does she live in?
She lived in, but not on the same premises.
Yes.
They had to live in a different, not under the same roof.
No.
They lived in a flat still. And
what was your relationship with her?
Very good. I mean, it was a tremendous relationship. I think she stayed with us for about 6 years. And then she went back to the country.
And I suppose labour was extremely cheap. That's right.
I mean, we always looked after our staff, really. We always looked after them.
And everybody had people who were... And Walter was working, presumably, at this stage? Or
Walter was working, yes.
Yes. So things began to look up financially for you?
Yes, I tell you exactly. We got married 1941. My late father stayed with my sister, but Walter looked still financially after him. So he had quite a burden on his shoulder,
He had his own mother and your father?
Yes.
Certainly, for a young man.
Yes. He always was a great family man.
Yes.
My father was ill, and doctor's accounts and chemist accounts.
Of course, everything.
It was not easy.
No. But did you find as the children grew older that things began to get easier?
Yes. Because Walter would tell you afterwards he changed his jobs, and then he earned much more, and I mean everything looked very much brighter. I'm talking now about the time from 48 onwards. In 1951, before Peter was born, we moved into a house, into the suburbs, out of Cape Town.
Yes.
And there we had a very nice home.
Did you have to pay for the children to go to school?
No. A very small amount. I mean, it was state school.
Yes.
And in the house there we also had a lady, maid, whatever. I don't know what you call it. You know,
Yes,
servant.
yes,
I call it
yes,
servant.
yes.
Sounds
Well,
terrible.
we used to call people like a mother's help if they helped the mother bring up the children,
No,
or a maid if she did the housework.
Yes, the housework.
And cooking,
right. I've done most of it, but she cooked. I taught her the way we like the cooking,
yes.
and
yes.
I mean, I was leading a very nice, sheltered life.
Yes,
you know,
and I presume then at that stage you began to lead a more social life.
Social life, yes, we were leading a social life. We had nice friends. I had a car then. Walter had a business car, and I had my own car. I mean, we lived very well.
This is how we sort of think of South African people living, and they have a swimming pool. I don't know.
Yes, we didn't have a swimming pool, but we were leading a very good life. We had the beach,
and you have beautiful
we played
gardens.
boats. We had a nice garden. We had a gardener. We played boats every weekend. I played boats even during the week, and the children were bigger.
Yes. And would you call that? Would you say you were sort of middle class?
Yeah, definitely. Yes, I mean,
and life was good to you.
Life was very good in South Africa.
Yes,
I mean, it was a lovely country, a lovely climate. We had a lovely circle of friends.
And there weren't the sort of political pressures and things like there are
No, if there were pressures, we didn't notice it.
No.
Actually, the political pressure started 1948 when the nationalists came to power, but he didn't take much notice of it.
No.
Because, you know, even today, when you speak to friends, nothing wrong.
It was the young, presumably, it was the next generation, your children's generation, who were growing to young adulthood,
yes,
who began to feel restless and wanted
university. Barbara noticed it at Peter when they started university, you know.
What did they say? Well, what sort of comments did they make at home?
Of course, they didn't make many comments about it. I mean, they were just telling us, but it was not, there wasn't much unrest actually at the time. The first unrest we noticed was Sharpeville, 1960, when thousands of blacks were marching downtown, and 76, a year before we left.
Had you planned to?
I tell you, we always said we can't be racialist coming from Germany. We felt it goes against the grain.
That's right.
And we noticed the way they handled the blacks when we went for a walk on the beach. We didn't like it. But perhaps in the back of our mind, we always hoped in a funny sort of way that children should leave.
You did?
Yes.
Yeah. That was really very sort of progressive of you in a way, because you were very committed family people.
Yes, but
you felt they would have a better future, did you?
And we knew what we went through. At least I did. Walter left 1936 already, because 1939 was from 36 to 39, and Danzig it was very tough.
Yes.
I mean, when they came to us that they're contemplating emigrating, I mean, it was a shock to us, and still in a funny sort of way, we were pleased, you know.
You had your grandchildren then as well.
Yeah, but, you know, it was, they discussed it with us end of 76, middle of 76, they want to leave. And by the time when Peter made up his mind too that he wants to leave, where Barbara's going in Elgin, he wants to go, he felt there are only two, they should stay together.
Yes, well, I can understand that. So, well, we're going to go back a little bit, because I want to ask you about your marriage to Walter, and where you met.
My mother-in-law lived with Walter just before we got married. They took a flat.
Where did you meet Walter?
I met Walter under very funny circumstances. A very good friend of mine I was working with. She said there are two bachelors living in the same house, and she would like me to meet them, and I should make my choice.
Which one you fancied? No regrets, I hope.
No, definitely not. And so I met these two chaps. The one was Walter, and the other one was a very good friend of his, you know. So, but Walter was more, he was more an extrovert. The other guy, I mean, he was a very nice chap. That's how it worked out.
Yes. So where did you get married? Did you get married in a synagogue?
I mean, we were very keen to get married in synagogue, but we couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
rabbi, Orthodox rabbi. We heard about him. We had a Hausgruppe.
A what?
A Hausgruppe at home.
Gruppe, sorry, I'm so sorry. Yes.
And it was not in a very nice part of Cape Town. And my father was there and brought his mother and a couple of our friends. I mean, it was rather strange. I mean, we walked into the house there, the rabbi hasn't arrived. And we looked around there and we just saw old pictures of grandparents and great-grandparents. I mean, it was rather strange. And then the rabbi arrived a bit late, 10-15 minutes late, because there was always a pause at 12 o'clock in Cape Town for the war, during the war, you know.
Yeah. Well, like a remembrance.
Like, yes.
Yes, yeah.
And then we met under the hoop at the rabbi.
And were your sister and your...
My sister was in
family?
Johannesburg.
Yeah.
Where was she? Well, yeah, she was. That's right. She was pregnant with her second daughter.
Yeah. So it was really a very, very small.
I mean, it was. My sister arranged a little party.
Yeah.
Which I helped us with the night before. We cooked potatoes. We made potatoes. So we had our wedding party, and then a good friend of ours took us out about an hour from Cape Town on honeymoon, and then they collected us again, I think. And it was very, very nice.
Yes. So we'll come forward again up to the beginning of 1970, I suppose, was it?
Yes,
Or mid-70s, was it?
1976. You know,
1976.
Then 1974.
Meanwhile,
First of all, Barbara got married in
Yes.
1969.
Did you know Elkin's family?
I met Elkin's father when I was at the shul, you know, when I was active at the shul.
Yes.
But not knowing that it was Elkin's
nice.
father.
That was nice, yeah.
And first of all, Barbara was confirmed as well. You call it bat mitzvah there, but
Well, it depends what age. She was 13.
She was 14. 14.
Yes, because as you know, we have the bat mitzvah and then we have confirmation. Yes.
Several girls were confirmed, boys and girls, same thing.
I mean, your children had a good Jewish upbringing, didn't they?
Yes, but I
So
don't
get
think
the
they'd
impression.
seen so much at home. I mean, we went to shul, we had everything. But there was actually never a Friday night. I don't know.
So your friends were mostly Jewish people?
All Jewish.
Yes, so they were brought up in a Jewish
Yes,
environment.
no doubt
That's
about
right.
it. No doubt
Yes,
about it.
yes.
And
Barbara, they went to university?
Yeah, I mean, they went to Cheder. I mean, they had a Jewish upbringing.
Yes.
And then Barbara went to university, and then she met Elkin in 1968 and 67. And Elkin went for a year to England after his studies and army. Studies, and then he came back 68. He went to the army. And 69 they got married. They had a lovely wedding, and all friends and their friends. And 1974, Peter got married.
And did they live? They both children sort of lived fairly near you.
Yes, I mean there was no distance in Cape Town. No. Barbara lived 20 minutes from us. They bought a house. And in any case, I've got to go back. 1900, after Barbara got married and Peter was finished school in 1970, he moved into an apartment again. He sold the house and moved into an apartment.
Yes.
Peter was at university. He stayed with us. Lived with us. And Barbara and Elkin first they moved into a flat and then into a big house with swimming pool.
And the children were born.
The children were born.
Yes.
And in 1976, they discussed leaving South Africa. 1977, Peter left with his wife on the 2nd of April, and 10 days later, Barbara left by boat with Elkin and the children.
That must have been a
It was very traumatic. I mean, even Andy still remembers it.
Yes.
You know?
Oh, I'm sure.
And he was 5 at the time. It was really very sad. And then we left the dogs, both in our cars. I mean, we each had our car. And arriving home, we made up our mind then that we would follow them. And we promised Elkin that we would definitely come. You know, we were very attached. Because we had no family.
No, that's right.
And Walter just retired a month later after the children left, and then we started.
So I won't ask you the traditional question of why did you come to Northwood, because it was a fairly obvious progression that you come where you're.
We made up our mind we would join a shul.
Yes, yes,
and reform was the only answer because we feel that is.
Yes, well we call ourselves liberal. I know what you mean by reform, but progressive,
progressive.
Yes, and I mean I know that you've made a lot of friends in the congregation.
Yes,
you take part in activities, which is nice.
And what else is there? Peter married.
So you don't really have regrets about leaving?
Definitely.
No.
We went back once to Cape Town, 1980, to be really sure that we've done the right thing, not that we would.
Did you?
Yes.
Where did you stay then?
We rented a flat.
Yes.
But we knew then
that was a sensible thing perhaps.
We've done the right thing. I mean, we wouldn't have picked up.
No.
Definitely not.
What happened to your sister?
My sister's living in Holland.
And
we are in contact, yes.
That's nice.
She was here a couple of years ago, and
did she also leave for similar reasons?
She left already 20 years ago.
So she left before?
Yeah, 1960 after Sharp.
Yes. And her children?
Children are all still in South Africa, except one son. She got 2 daughters and 1 son. The daughters are still there and married, and the son is living in Holland.
So many families are sort of all around the world today.
And
anything else that you feel that we might have missed out?
I mean, there's only.
Very interesting.
You just asked me what else there is. I mean, as you know, Peter unfortunately took ill.
Yes. That was when we, of course, first got to know Barbara at that stage.
That he passed away.
That's right. No, I think that's been very interesting. Thank you very much for giving us the time.
Now I'm back.
Okay, so since we've had our cup of tea, we've been thinking of things. Tell me about what your flat was like.
Our first flat, we had two rooms. On the ground floor, we always had to go out to see what the weather is like if the sun is shining.
Oh, did you have windows?
We had windows. It was a lovely modern flat, but it was on the ground floor, and there were flats around us.
Yes, so you couldn't see the sky.
And we had a small kitchen modern and a lovely modern bathroom, 2 rooms. The one room was our dining room, and Walter's mother had a bed there, a couch which she made at night for a bed, and during the day it was like a settee. And our dining room table, and the other room was our room or the lounge. There's 2 bed couches around the corner, on either side, and a small table in the sideboard. And when our friends came to visit us, we had a super circle of friends. We all had no money, or very little. They first had to take their shoes off in the little entrance hall to get in to walk on the couch, to sit down. And with our little money, or as little as we had super time. With a bottle of brandy and a few biscuits, we had fun.
Did you find it, it wasn't an ideal situation having your mother-in-law living with you when you first got married, but you surmounted that problem.
Yes. I mean, it was not easy. Definitely not. Because Walter was the youngest of the family, and actually
he was the baby.
He was a baby, and she knew that her daughter perished in the concentration camp. And then she had another son in America, which she hasn't seen since 38. I mean, it was already now 10 years later. So Walter was a baby, and it was something.
So how many years was she living with you?
She lived with us from 41 to 47. 47 she went to an old age home. Barbara was born then, and then we moved from the 2-room flat into a 3-room flat. So we had a huge dining room lounge combined, and my mother-in-law's bedroom, and our bedroom. But Barbara had to sleep with us, And then it was very inconvenient for father, not so much for mother. So then she went to the old age home. We had a modern, completely new modern old age home, Jewish old age home. But she died after a year. She was 78.
Yes. Oh, that's interesting. Thanks.
just just thinking that you didn't keep a Jewish home like Barmouth, for instance, today. This Friday night.
Yes, I know what you mean.
When we were younger. First of all, the first few years, I mean, my mother-in-law always lit the candles, But when she passed away, and we were so sick and tired of religiousness. I mean, I remember she walked from Myers to the synagogue, and we always had to schlep along.
Yes, you felt free, didn't you?
You felt free.
Yes, you could do what you wanted.
Right.
That's right.
And
then it comes back again after.
Yeah.
I think that's the feeling.
Yeah, I mean, now when we are older, or say I'm older, I don't know, Walter feels the same than I do. I feel somehow more different again.
Well, first of all, you belong to a community. And secondly, you have your daughter with grandchildren around the corner. So
yes, this definitely makes a difference. I mean, she definitely hasn't seen all this in our house that the children see in her house.
Yeah, but I think a lot of it is due to the community in which we live. And I think that the younger people are seeing what this congregation is teaching
our
them.
whole, the age group in Cape Town, there was not, they all had a good Jewish background, but they all hadn't kept anything the Friday nights. Perhaps that's what's swept us along with the crowd.
I think you probably have another reason why you may feel that you don't have regrets.
No, I mean, I have no regrets by no means. Look, I'm sure I'm just as good Jew or better Jewess than many people who keep up the religion up to the T.
Well, I meant that you were keeping it up here much more than you would have done had you stayed in South Africa.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about my youth,
Yes, your youth, yes.
Our young married years.
Yes. But when you're young and you're starting a family, sometimes other things take priority. And you concentrate more on other things, and then after a while things fall into a pattern.
Quite, and when I was still in my parents' home, I mean my father's home, seeing I had the governess who looked after us, she was non-Jewish, which also made a big difference.
Did she teach you to say your prayers or anything, just
no,
simple basic prayers?
Was not, you mean Christian prayers?
Well, any sort of thing that a child does before they go to bed.
Basic. Every night I said a prayer for my parents and my sister. Yeah. And you know that Peter, when he was small, I taught him that. He still prayed every night. He always laughed about it. He says, it's so in me. When he was a married man.
That's lovely. That's lovely.
And I tell you want to believe it, I still do it today. I'm 67, but I still do that.
That's in a way why I asked you, because I think that these things
are our childhood
that's right.
that you don't grow on.
You feel it's right, like doing your teeth.
Quite right. Honestly.